Alright, so these are my week 23 NBA power rankings. We only have about 2 weeks left of the regular season, about 7-ish games for all of these teams. So we're very, very close to the end of the regular season. Moving on here, we have our injuries to start us off. Certainly is quite a bit of things to note. We got some guys getting shut down for the rest of the season, and some guys on minor injuries. Kevin Durant is a big factor here. The Suns are trying to stay alive in the play-in race in the Western Conference, and losing Kevin Durant for even 1 week is going to be very detrimental to their playoff hopes. Moving on from there, we have our top performances. You guys can look at this yourself. I don't want to take up too much time. But moving on from there, we have the Utah Jazz. I'll get in here. We have the Jazz coming in at number 30. They are the 15th seed in the West. They're 0-4 this week, losing to the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Nuggets, and the Hornets. The Hornets are a really bad team, and they lost to the Hornets, so I mean that's kind of sad. Moving on there, we have the 76ers actually here at number 29. They were 0-3 this week and have now lost 8 straight games. So, again, losing 8 straight, longest losing streak in the league, definitely one of the worst teams. Lost to the Wizards, who are pretty bad, to the Raptors, who are pretty bad, and lost to the Miami Heat. Then we got the Washington Wizards actually at 28, moving up 2 spots, even though I think they still have the worst record in the league, or at least in the Eastern Conference. But they got to win this week. So I had to move them up at least a couple of spots. They did beat the 76ers, so that's why they move ahead of them. And then they lost to the Pacers, the Nets, and the Heat. Next up is the Charlotte Hornets. They went 1-3 this week, moving down 1 spot. 14th seed in the East. Obviously eliminated from playoff contention. They did beat the Utah Jazz this week, so that's something at least. But they lost to the Magic, and then 2 bad teams in the Raptors and Pelicans. Next up is the New Orleans Pelicans. They dropped 2 spots, went 1-1 this week. Like I said, they beat the Hornets, but they also lost to the Golden State Warriors, and also had CJ McCollum and Zion Williamson shut down for the rest of the season, which definitely makes this team worse. 25, San Antonio Spurs. They went 0-4 this week. Not good, but again, they are not technically eliminated from playoffs, but I mean, they pretty much are. So losing games is actually a good thing to kind of boost their draft lottery odds. They lost to the Pistons, the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Warriors this week. Then we have the Brooklyn Nets coming in at 24. They're the 12th seed in the East, but they have already been eliminated from the playoffs. Moving up 3 spots, though, actually, not bad. They lost to the Raptors and the Clippers, but they beat the Wizards and the Dallas Mavericks. 23, we have the Toronto Raptors. They move up 2 spots after a 3-0 week. The 11th seed in the East, still alive in the playoff race, but, I mean, they're like 5 games below the 10 seed, so pretty much are going to be eliminated very, very quickly. They beat the Nets, Hornets, and Sixers, so 3 pretty bad teams that they played, but at least they did get some wins. Then we have the Portland Trail Blazers at 22. They were 0-3 this week, dropping a couple of spots, are now officially eliminated from the playoffs as the 12th seed there in the Western Conference. They lost to the Cavs, the Kings, and the Knicks, so 3 solid teams at least. 21, we do have the Sacramento Kings dropping 2 spots. 1-3 this week, not great. 10 seed in the West, though, so definitely alive, obviously, in that play-in race. They beat the Blazers, like I just mentioned, but they also lost to the Thunder, the Magic, and the Pacers. Number 20, we have the Chicago Bulls. They're going to drop 2 spots after a 1-2 week. They did beat the Los Angeles Lakers, but then they lost to the Dallas Mavericks, and they got obliterated by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Number 19, we do have that Dallas Mavericks team. Moving up 3 spots. They got Anthony Davis back from injury and have now climbed from an 11 seed all the way back to a 9 seed. So they actually are in good position to be a play-in team. Where 1 week ago, I was not, they were not looking so good. They also got Daniel Gafford back from injury this week. So getting some guys healthy to make a play-in push, which I'm not sure if that's going to do much for them, but I guess it's better than nothing in their eyes at least. They lost to the Knicks and the Nets and beat the Magic and the Bulls. Number 18 is going to be the Atlanta Hawks. They went 1-2 this week, dropping 2 spots. 7th seed in the Eastern Conference, not bad by any means. They didn't have the easiest schedule. They lost to the Rockets and the Heat, who are 2 solid teams. Rockets are really good, and they did beat the Milwaukee Bucks there as well. 17 is the Phoenix Suns, dropping 5 spots, winning 0-3 this week, now the 11 seed. Also, again, like I mentioned earlier, they lost Kevin Durant to injury. So they fell from, I think, the 10 seed to the 11 seed, and then losing Kevin Durant. Things are not looking good at all for the Suns in terms of making a play-in push. They lost to the Celtics, Timberwolves, and Rockets this week. Number 16, we have the Miami Heat. They went 4-0 this week, so they jump up 5 spots. They were the 10 seed a week ago. Now they're the 9 seed, but, I mean, it's still pretty close there. We'll go over the standings more in depth a little bit later. But 4-0 in any week is good. Beat the Warriors, Hawks, Sixers, and Wizards. Number 15, Orlando Magic, moving up 2 spots after a 2-2 week. They're now the 8 seed. I think they were probably the 8 seed a week ago, but, you know, it's whatever. They did beat the Hornets and the Kings and lost to the Mavs and the Clippers. Number 14, we have the Milwaukee Bucks, dropping just 1 spot after an 0-3 week. They actually have fallen to a 6 seed now, so losing Damian Lillard to that blood clot injury definitely makes this team worse, and we've seen that throughout this week. They lost to the Nuggets, the Knicks, and the Hawks. Number 13, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. They went 1-3 this week. They're going to drop 2 spots. Still the 5 seed in the West, so nothing bad at all, but definitely not a great week. This week, beat the Jazz, but then lost to 3 really good teams in the Thunder, Lakers, and Celtics. Also, fired their coach, Taylor Jenkins, which is very, very odd because they're having a solid record, and it's like just a couple weeks before the playoffs, so there's got to be some story that's going to come out at some point, but that was just very surprising to me. Number 12, we have the Detroit Pistons moving up 3 spots, sitting at a 5 seed, 2-1 this week. Solid. Ended up jumping ahead of the Bucks as a 5 seed now, which is good. They lost to the Timberwolves, but they beat the Spurs and they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Number 11, New York Knicks moving up 3 spots. They are now clinched a playoff spot. They're the third 3 seed in the East. Pretty much clinched that seeding as well. 3-1 this week, solid. And potentially could get Jalen Brunson back this week as well. But they beat the Mavericks, the Bucks, and the Blazers and lost to the Clippers. Next up is the Indiana Pacers at number 10. They jumped down 2 spots. Actually, a 2-2 week wasn't great for them. They lost to the Lakers and Thunder and beat the Wizards and Kings. Next up is the Minnesota Timberwolves, moving up 1 spot after having a 2-0 week. Still the 7th seed in the West. Definitely, overrated as far as where the record would actually put them, but again, they've been doing pretty solid as of late. Beat the Suns and the Pistons this week. Number 8 is going to be the Golden State Warriors. They moved down 3 spots after having a 2-1 week. They lost to the Heat, and then they beat 2 really bad teams in the Pelicans and the Spurs. Number 7, we're going to have the Los Angeles Lakers jumping up 2 spots. They went 3-1 this week, so pretty solid there. Good win over the Pacers, Grizzlies, and Rockets, who are all 3 good teams. And they lost to the Chicago Bulls on a Josh Giddey half-court buzzer beater. So their only loss was on a half-court buzzer beater. And they beat 3 really good teams, so solid week, certainly, for the Lakers. Number 6, we have the Los Angeles Clippers, who are definitely overrated for where they rank record-wise. They went 3-1 this week. They're still the 8th seed in the Western Conference, so very, very overrated. But they are tied for the 3rd best record in the league in the last 10 games at 8-2, behind only the Rockets, the Celtics, and the Thunder. So over the last few weeks, they have been, the 4th best team in the league. So having them at number 6, not too crazy. Next up, we have the Denver Nuggets at number 5, moving up just 1 spot. They went 2-0 this week against the Bucks and the Jazz. Number 4, we have the Houston Rockets, staying at the exact same spot after having a 3-1 week of their own, beat the Hawks, Jazz, and Suns, and the only loss was against the Los Angeles Lakers. Number 3 is going to stay the Cleveland Cavaliers. They went 3-1 this week, losing to the Detroit Pistons, but beating the Blazers, Spurs, and Clippers. Number 2 is going to be the Boston Celtics, who have won 9 straight games right now, 3-0 this week, against the Suns, the Spurs, and the Grizzlies. And then number 1, of course, is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder once again. They went 4-0 this week, have now won 10 straight games, have the best record in the entire NBA. They beat the Kings, the Grizzlies, the Pacers, and the Bulls this week. Moving on from there, we have our award races. I'll just get out of the way here for you guys. But the MVP, there's only 2 guys that are even on the odds boards anymore because nobody else has a chance besides Shea and Jokic. But for the other awards, I'm going to just talk about the leading candidate. You can look at the whole list if you want to. But Stephon Castle's leading Rookie of the Year. Cade Cunningham's leading Most Improved Player. Peyton Pritchard is leading Sixth Man of the Year. Jalen Brunson is leading Clutch Player of the Year. Kenny Atkinson is leading Coach of the Year. And Draymond Green is leading Defensive Player of the Year. But moving on from there, we're going to look at the playoff standings here a little bit. In the Eastern Conference, pretty much the top 10 teams are set in stone. And pretty much the 4 play-in teams are set in stone, right? The 6-seeded Bucks have a 4-game lead over the 7-seed Hawks. So I don't see those switching too much. So 7 and 8 seed Hawks and Magic are very close. Those two teams could easily swap places. 9 and 10 Heat and Bulls, very close. Those two teams could easily swap places. And you know, the Bucks and Pistons are only 1.5 game away. Pacers and Pistons are only 2 games away. So those 4, 5, and 6 spots are very easily interchangeable. But the top 3 being Cleveland, Boston, and New York, I don't foresee that order changing at all. Now, in the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder have clinched the 1 seed, but pretty much everything else is up for grabs, right? Rockets don't have a very significant lead over the 2 or the 3 seed, but I would expect the top 4 seeds to be the Thunder, Rockets, Nuggets, and Lakers, regardless of the order between 2 and 4. Now for the 5, 6, 7, and 8, those are all within 1 game of each other, so those could easily swap any which way, but I don't foresee any of those teams cracking above the Los Angeles Lakers at number 4. Now for 9 and 10, we have a 3-way race here between Dallas, Sacramento, and the Phoenix Suns. Suns are only 1.5 games away from the 9 seed, so again, that's going to be a very, very tight race from 9 to 11. But that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check back next week for an updated power rankings list, and goodbye.